Om Namo Venkateshaya. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavathanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashanteye Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha. Tismarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchate Namastasmi Vishnave Prabha Vishnave Lakshmi Nata Samarambam Nate Amana Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Partaya Pradibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Venkatesaya. My pranams everybody. So we are at chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita, Akshara Brahma Yogam. So Bhagavan has been talking about how when a person leaves his body, in different ways of ultimately reaching him as such. So he's I think we're completed up to sloka number 23. Am I right?
Yes, Guruji, from 24th.
Yeah. So 23, where Bhagavan is talking about. Now I'll explain to you the two parts where by one the person leaves this body, he never comes back. The other one, he goes to different lokas, but then again comes back. So let's move on to sloka number 24.
Agnir Jyotiraha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vidojanaha.
So Brahma Vido Janaha. So one who knows the absolute truth, those people say that. What do they say? Agnihi Jyotihi Ahaha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayan. That means a person who leaves this body, that is the Jivatma which leaves this body, through the path of Agnihi, that means the fire. Jyotihi means light. Ahaha means during daytime. Shuklaha means this Shukla Paksham, that is the waxing phase of the moon. Shanmasa Uttarayanam, that means during the period of Uttarayanam. Tatra Prayata Gachanti, that means that person, absolutely, Tatra, there, Prayata, he goes to that place, Gachanti, leaving this body, that who leave this body, Gachanti, he goes to Brahma, that means he reaches the abode of Brahma, that's what it is. So, the person who leaves this body during the, through the path of Agni, that means in fact there is this called as Archihi Adi Margam, Adi Margam. Archihi means light. Adi means beginning. So it begins with the light. So that means the path of leaving this body, going up to the Vaikuntha, there are about 13 different lokas the person passes through and ultimately reaches Vaikuntha. That's what the Upanishads also say. So that's what Bhagavan is saying here. Agni means light. Jyotihi, Agni Jyoti means the light. The light and then the fire. There's a fire. In fact, the fire is the one which will ultimately lead him. In fact, it said, in this Isavasya Upanishad, the last loka, last mantra, this is what is Agnenaya Supada Raye Asman. So Agni, please lead me on to the Supada, that means good path. Raye, that means a great path. Asman, so you lead us on to that, the ultimate loka of Brahman. So they are asking Agni to lead them. So Agni is the one which is going. In fact, the root word, the meaning of Agni itself, Agre Nayate iti Agni. That means one which is able to lead us into to the front, moving forward. That is called as Agni. So Agni, Jyotihi means light, the path of light. Ahaha, that means the person who leaves this body during the daytime. Shuklaha means during the waxing phase of the moon. Shanma, that means a person who leaves this body during Uttarayanam, then this waxing phase of the moon, during the daytime, or is being led by the Agni, the light of the Agni. There he reaches the abode of Brahman. That is what is the ultimate, the abode of Bhagavan. That is what the Brahma Vido Jana. That means the people who know about this Brahman, that is the people who say that this is what, that is what happens to the Jivatma which leaves this body through this path. That's what it says. Now let's look at the second one, sloka number 25.
Yeah, next to Guruji.
Yeah, sloka number 25.
Dhumo ratristatha Krishnaha Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasan Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate.
So a person who leaves this body, Dhumaha means smoke. This is called as, Archadi Margam, the other one is called as Dhumadi Margam. So that means the starting point is the Dhuma. Dhuma is the smoke. Dhumaha, Ratrihi, night time. Tata Krishnaha. Krishna means Krishna Paksham. That is what is referring to the waning phase of the moon. Sukla Paksham, Krishna Paksham. Krishnaha, Shanmasa, Dakshinayana. So a person loses his body during the Dakshinayana. That means Dakshinayana is the one where the sun moves towards the southern side. Uttarayanam, Uttara means north. The sun moving to the northern side is Uttarayanam, sun moving to the southern side is Dakshin. That is the period from this say middle of July till the middle of January is Dakshinayanam. Middle of January till the middle of July is Uttarayan. So that person who leaves this body during this Dakshinayanam, Tatra Chandramasam Jyotihi, that means he goes to the Chandra Loka. That is also said to be one of enjoyment, pleasures, and all those things. He reaches that Chandramasam Jyotihi, that light of the Chandra. Yogi Prapya, then thereafter having reached that, he has got to come back to this world again. So that means one path is where the person lives during the daytime, during the Sukla Paksham, during the Uttarayanam, is led by the Agni, and then he is led into the Brahma Lokam, and not Brahma's Lokam, Brahman, and ultimately he doesn't come back again. The other people who leave this body during the Dhumra, that means this smoke, and then during the night time, and then in the Krishna Paksham, that is the waning phase of the moon, and then in Dakshinayanam, those people go to the Chandraloka, enjoy whatever the pleasures, and then they have completing the enjoyments, they come back to this world again. Prapya Nivartati, that means they come back to this world again. So let's move on to Sloka number 26.
शुक्लकृष्णे गतिह्येते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिम् अनन्या वर्तते पुनः.
So Shukla Krishne Gati Hyete. Yete Jagataha Shashvate. So that means according to the opinion of these Vedas, the people who leave this body, who do this, the Jivatma which leave this body during the Shukla Krishna, that means the dark as well as this the bright face of the moon, the bright face, ultimately reach Ekaya. That there are two paths which lead them, which ultimately the two destinations they reach. When one destination, that is, they don't come back again into this world. The other path, they come back into this world again. So this is what it is. So that means there are, if you look at it, there are actually the four destinations which the Jivatma passes ultimately. The first phase, of course, these two are the ones which Bhagavan talks about. One is where a yogi leaving this body at the time of Krishna Shukla Paksha, and then during this Uttarayanam, and during the daytime he goes into this Brahma Loka, that is the Loka of the Bhagavan, and he never comes back again. The other person is who leaves this body during the Krishna Paksha, during this Dakshinayanam and during the night time, he passes through this path of this dhumna, that means this smoke, and then he enjoys the pleasures in these various lokas, and then comes back again into this world. There are third people who are surrendered to the Bhagavan, and therefore they say that ultimately you are the protector. The Bhagavan here is talking about all these people who do their yoga on their own, that is good concentration and all this meditation and all those things. There are people who are completely surrendered to the Bhagavan, so you take care of us, Bhagavan. Whatever period they may leave this body, whether it is Uttarayana, Dakshina, whatever be the period of time, they ultimately reach the abode of Bhagavan as such. So that is the third path. The fourth one is people who don't follow any of these things. They ultimately go to different lokas depending upon their punyas and papas, and again they come back to this world once the papas and the punyas are completely exhausted. In fact, some of the Upanishads like Chandogya Upanishads explains how the Jivatma, once it fulfills, once that when it is in Naraka, when it all this the punishments for the sin are completed, or when it is in Swargaloka where the enjoyments for the punya karmas are exhausted, what happens is all the Jivatmas are pushed from this respective lokas into the sky, and they get into these clouds, and through the clouds they get into the rain, they fall into this earth, and the earth, when then they get into this various through the rain they get into these various plants. The plants, they get into the grains and other things. When the grains are being consumed by the various jivatmas, they get into the male, and then ultimately passed on to the female, and from the female garbha they come back into this one. That is the path that is being mentioned in this various Upanishads, how the jivatma, after fulfilling, after completing all their the effects, the results of their various karmas, they come back into this world. So that's so Bhagavan is talking about two of the karma. That is, he is talking about the yogi who is practicing the concentration. Some yogis may still have a desire to get this go to different lokas, and therefore those kind of yogis come back to different lokas and then again come back to this. And that's what we know. We spoke about it in chapter 6, Yoga Brashta. Afterward, they get into a situation of where they Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijay. That means that person again gets back into it's a good family where he is able to continue from where he has left in the previous one and continue to strive for the ultimately reaching the Bhagavan's abode. That's what it said. Now, sloka number 27.
नैते सृति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन.
Na yete sruti partha, O partha, O Arjuna. Sruti means different paths. Yete so these different paths. Jan and having known that yogi mukhyati na kaschan. Yogi na that is na yete. No yogi na mukhyati kaschana. So yogi is never bewildered. So that means he knows there are two different paths. One path leads them to this path of return. Another path is leading them into the path of coming back after enjoying all the enjoyments, the various lokas. He comes back again. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavat. So Arjuna, tasmat, therefore, in all periods of time, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, in all periods of time, yoga yukto bhavat. That means you always be united with that yoga. That means once you know that this path is going to lead me to this coming back into this world, the other path is going to lead me into this the ultimate loka where I don't have to come back. So you are being aware of that, and therefore you must always be united. You must always be a yogi. That means once you are always in yoga form, ultimately at the time of leaving this body also you will remember about me, and therefore you will ultimately reach my abode, and therefore you always be yogi. That's what he's saying. Tasmat sarveshu kal. If you are a yogi, all periods of time thinking about Bhagavan, then even at the time of leaving the body, the thought of Bhagavan will never fade away from you, and therefore you will ultimately reach me. So that is the advice that because Arjuna asked the first question, how do we remember you when we leave this body? That was one of the questions which Arjuna asked at the beginning of this chapter. So Bhagavan is giving, he has already given answers in the similar fashion. Again, he is concluding by saying that Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjun. That means in all periods of time, always think about me, and therefore at the time of leaving this body also, you'll always be remembering about me. That's what he says. Let's move on to the last sloka of this chapter.
वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रतिष्ठम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्. ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अक्षरब्रह्मयोगो नाम अष्टमोऽध्यायः. हरि ओम्.
So the question that may arise in all these people is that means a person who is performing the yoga must be dry. You should not think about all this. There won't be any benefit stream at all. So Bhagavan is giving an assurance saying Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapascha. So a person who is performing this various the yajnas that are being mentioned in the Vedas, tapas, dhanam, punya palam, all this, going to Kshetradanam, doing all this punya karmas, pradishtam, all those benefits the person will get while living in this world itself. And having known that all these things are only temporary, he goes beyond that. Tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthan. That means having known that these are all only temporary, but still he will get that. So like, when in the morning you cook, you light your stove. The purpose of lighting the stove is only getting this, the heat in the fire is what is your important, because you want to heat the milk or something like that. But then simultaneously you are getting the light also. Your intention is not light, but then you are simultaneously getting the light also. Similarly, when you light the lamp for the light purposes, it generates heat also. So at the same time, so your purpose is light, but it generates heat also. So similarly, the purpose of this yogi is only to ultimately attain Bhagavan, but in the process he will get all the benefits that a person gets by doing all these various acts, like tapas, dhanam, punya palam, all those things will also come to him. But then he knows that these are all temporary. He goes beyond that. Yogi param sthanam upaiti yachatim. So that means he always goes beyond that, knowing that all these things are only temporary, and then ultimately his purpose is only reaching the abode of the Bhagavan. But in the process, he will get whatever things that are, whatever results a person gets by performing this various punya karmas. So that means his intention is not getting all these benefits, but it accrues to him. That's what Bhagavan says. So that means his life will not be, so dry, and then he will always be thinking about Bhagavan, and therefore there won't be anything that is accruing to him at all. And therefore, that's what Bhagavan says. He will get all the benefits of whatever being done. And at the same time, he'll ultimately know that this is not the purpose of this life. The purpose of this life is ultimately reaching the abode of Bhagavan, and ultimately he reaches the abode of Bhagavan. That's what Bhagavan concludes in this chapter 8. So this is what is it is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so Upanishad. So that means this is the Bhagavad Gita. This is the Upanishad also, because it is containing the Brahma Vidya. That is the ultimate knowledge, Brahma Vidya, Yoga Sastri. So that means the yoga. Bhagavan is yoga is the means of reaching. Yoga derives from the root word yuj, which means to get united. Bhagavan is also giving the means of reaching the abode of Bhagavan, and therefore it is called as Yoga Sastri. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvadi, in the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Akshara Parabhrahma. Akshara means immutable. That means it doesn't decline at all. Parabrahma. That means Akshara Brahma. Brahma means the big. I told you the Brahman means the literal meaning is very big. So Bhagavan is the biggest person in this universe, and therefore it's called as Akshara Brahma Yoga Namo Ashtamodhyat. So this is how the 8th chapter concludes. So let's just summarize what we learned in today's class. Bhagavan said there are 2 paths which a yogi ultimately achieves. One path is where he goes when he leaves this body during the period of daytime, at the time of Shukla Paksham, then at the time of Uttarayanam, he goes to the path of, he's being led by Agni and the light of the Agni, and ultimately reaches the abode of Brahman and never comes back again. The other path is where a person leaves this body during the Ratri, that is the night time, in the Krishna Paksham, and then in Dakshinayanam. He goes to different lokas, enjoys the benefits, enjoys himself in this various Chandra Loka and other places. And of course, he has got to come back again. So that's what Bhagavan says. So the yogis know that these are the 2 paths that are to be followed, and they decide which path they want to follow. Some people still have they want to have some enjoyments in different lokas. They follow the what you call this Dhumradi Margam. The other person follows the Archaradi Margam. So once a person knows ultimately all these things, yogi knows both these are the paths that are going to lead him to different goals. He decides which one to go, and then ultimately reaches the person who is has got the discrimination, knows that he should follow the path of Archaradi Margam so that he can never come back again. Again, Bhagavan says that a person who follows this path of yoga is not bereft of any of the results of these various punya karmas. All the results of the punya karmas will accrue to him, although he may not aspire for it. And ultimately, he knows that these are all only temporary in transit, and ultimately reaches the abode of Bhagavan. This is how the chapter 8 concludes. Let's recapitulate the chapter 8 from tomorrow onwards. Om Namo Venkatesaya. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanastu. Krishna 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 Krishna.